Okay, Shin Samach Sif Aleph. So now the din hek of mechitzas l'Shabbos, when you make mechitzas on Shabbos, Aleph, Yochid Sheshavas Bebika. So you have an individual who is spending Shabbos, or is residing, in a valley. Vehek of mechitzas gruas, and he put up there unsubstantial walls. Kugoin Shesi below Erev. For example, he had upright. Sort of pieces of wood upright fencing, or if he had like a rope fencing all the way around, which is horizontal, below chassis, without a chassis. So you can just have a quick look at the picture number 12. You can see the uprights. That's chassis. The chassis is vertical. I think it's called a picket fence. Yeah, well, I'm not sure exactly, but it's basically upright pieces of wood, but there are gaps. There are major gaps. Or you have erev, which means you have the horizontal, like some of the sukkahs, the bottom of the sukkah. You have these sort of ropes going round, or metal. Yeah. So either way, it's not a substantial fence because it's not solid. So if it's the area where you're living in this bikar, in this valley, which is surrounded by these types of fences, if it's less than Beis Osayim, mutar l'taltal b'kulei, then you can carry in the whole thing. But misosayim ve'elech, but if it's bigger than that, ein metaltal b'y ela ba'arba, then you can only carry arba amos. Now let's see that why. Says the Mishnah till there. Aleph, Sifkot Aleph. Yochid sheshavas bebika. Hu adin tafilu b'mokum yishuv gamkein mutar ad sosayim. And this is lav dafka. You're in a bika, but even if you're in a residential area. This sort of non-substantial fence would allow you, if the area was up to Sosayim, then you could carry in the whole thing. But Nokad Bika, and the reason why it says a valley, even in a Bika, where you haven't got sturdy, strong walls, if this area is very large, Chazal asked you to carry if the area is bigger than Beis Osayim. Now, Kagoin, chassis, for example, you've got just upright, you've got sort of pieces of wood, and then a gap, and then another piece of wood, then another gap. Hainu Kagoin, Shenotz Konim Bekarka, Pachas Mishlesh Tvachim Zeh Etzel Zeh. So you're leaving gaps less than 3 Tvachim between each upright piece of wood. Umikal Makam Mayrish Tkuim Baris B'choizek. But nevertheless, each piece of wood is very is inserted into the ground properly. Shelo yinidem haruach, that the wind won't sort of shake it around. Because if it shakes around in the wind, there's nothing. Or you have the horizontal type of fencing. For example, you have lots of ropes, ropes one on top of the other. And there is a gap of less than 3 tefachim between each horizontal rope. When you've got that even if you've got omid meru ala paretz, but you've got lots of gaps, you've still got the same din of shesi below erev, like we're describing here. Okay. Dalet, al sosayim. So, in this, you're living in this area, and you've got this sort of non-substantial fencing, so then you can carry. If the area is less than Beis Osayim, you can carry. That's ad sosayim v'ad bichlal. Aval yoysim es sosayim loy. Now, but if it's bigger than that area, you can't. If the area is more than Beis Osayim, you can't. Now, why not? The rabbis were machmir. They asked you to carry like in any other karmelis. Nevertheless, this area is not considered a proper karmelis, that you would be allowed to carry from one karmelis to another, which you would ordinarily be allowed to do. We don't say that. Because in truth, this area is actually a Rosh Yochid Gomor, because through Lovud, which is the concept of closing up a gap of 3 tefachim, you've got a proper wall. But Chazal would just machmir in this situation that it's got a sort of a slightly inferior fence because it's a picket fence there with big gaps there. You've got upright chassis pieces of wood with gaps there, and therefore they were machmir to say that it's got a din of a carmelis and therefore is more than 2,000 up, more than Beis Osayim, they don't allow you to carry. Of machitzas gemuras, however, if it was proper machitzas, then mutar l'talzel bekulaf yimachzik yosef Beis Osayim harbe, because the hukf l'dira, because that's been the rule all along. If something is mukaf l'dira, then you can carry as big, however big it is, no problem. Shahari hikbidim l'dur boim b'Shabbos afilu hurak al Shabbos achas. It's just that if you were makif it to reside there in Shabbos, then even if it's for one Shabbos, you'll be allowed to do it. Okay, good. So what have we said? Just to summarize so far, that the story is that you've got this area which is mukaf mechitzas geruas. It's surrounded, you've fenced it off with shvacha types of with inferior fencing. For example, shesi below erev, uprights with a gap, upright gap. Oy erev below shesi, or horizontal. For example, rope and then another rope above it within 3 tefachim. So if it's ad sosayim, you can carry the whole thing. But misosayim ve'elech, if it's more than that, you can only carry daladamas. Now, the mechaber carries on. V'chein hadin imhem shnaim. Now that is true also if there were 2 people who were residing in that area. Says the Mishnah Berurah you've got involved. That even if they're if there's one person, even if there are 2 people there, you only give them an area of Beis Osayim. That's the critical amount. However, carrying on the Machab, the second line, if however there are 3 Jewish people in that area, they now have the din of a caravan, of like an encampment. And therefore they can carry in the whole area, even if it's much bigger than Beis Osayim. So long as they don't make it more than their essential needs. They don't leave an area of Beis Osayim which is open, that is not needed at all, because that's way more than their needs. But if they've got an area which is unused of as much as Beis Osayim, that scuppers the whole thing, and that only and therefore you'll only be allowed to carry 4 amas in the whole thing. Now, when is this true? That's if the total hekaf is more than 6 saw. But if it's not bigger than 6 saw, then it's going to be okay. Even if you have sosayim which is ponui, because you've got 3 people then, it's got a din of a shayara. So then you can carry much more. Says the Ramah, finishing off, he doesn't count as this shayara, do adin cotton in mitzaref, and so to a child. Okay, let's have a look. Says the Mishnah Berurah Sif Cotton Zayin, because if you've got such a big area, which is you've got 2 sosayim which are unused, or to a Beis Osayim which is unused, then it's as if you've got mechitza which is not there. Now, why? The sheish soin who l'shleisha anoshim, because remember, each person gets Beis Osayim. So if you've got 3 people, you've got sheish soin, l'kol echad Beis Osayim. V'heim yikifu yoyse, and they made an area bigger than 6 Beis Saw. Kagoin sheva, for example, they made 7 Beis Saw. V'lo hutzruchu el l'chomesh, and the 3 of them only really need 5. V'nishas Osayim ponu, v'alkein also, that scuppers the whole thing, because it's too big. But if they didn't do an area bigger than 6 Beis Saw, given the sheish hu hashir l'shloisha anoshim, since 6 Beis Saw is the appropriate space for 3 people, 2 Beis Saw each, l'kol echad Beis Osayim, loy machmerinan afilu nisha Beis Osayim ponu. Even if you've got Beis Osayim ponu, that would not be a problem. Even if you're only really using 4 between the 3 of them, still that would be okay, because essentially they're using the amount that is assigned for each person. Rabbi is also. Whenever you have a sosayim which is unused, that scuppers it. So let's just summarize what we've said. a person is moved into some sort of bika or whatever, and he fences it up there for a Shabbos, it's like a camping Shabbos, or whatever it may be, and you do this inferior fence. So if the area is less than Beis Osayim, right, then you can carry in the whole area, no problem. It's Mukaf Ladira. If it's more than Beis Osayim, then you can only carry Daled Amos. And that is true whether there's one person there or two people there. But if there are three people there, it's got to do with a Shayara, and a Shayara allows each person to have 2,000 Amos, and therefore you can have 6,000 Amos, 2,000 Amos, not Amos, two base saw for each person. You can have 6 base saw for the Shayara. If they build an area bigger than that, according to the Mechaba, so long as the 2 base saw is not unused, you're okay. So for example, you've got 6 base saw, then you're good to go. And let's say they built it, they don't use 2 of the base saw, then according to the strict halacha, it would be okay. Even if, let's say, they only use 4 base saw, then that would be all right. If you've got an area which is 6 base saw, and they use 4 of them, that would be okay. However, the Mishnah Berurah brings at the end from the Achronim that whenever there is an area of base or sign which is unused, that scuppers it, and they'd only be allowed to carry Daled Amos. Okay? So that's the main rule, that if you've got 1 or 2 people, that if it's an area of less than base of Simon, it's Mukaf Ladira, you can carry no problem. So you build your picket fence and it's not so big, and it's less than base of Simon, then you can carry no problem because it's Mukaf Ladira. But if it's bigger than base of Simon, you can only carry Daled Amos. Chazal will machmir in that situation. If, however, you have 3 people, then it becomes a Shayara and you're allowed more, up to 6 base saw, for 2,000 for each one, etc., etc. So okay, we'll leave that.